management. In fact, we had gone through the fact that management is about using scarce resources, very scarce resources, that will lead us to an optimal use towards achievement of objectives that we have set in the organization. We looked at the fact that it entailed planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. In fact, we're even drawn to the fact that the managerial effort exists both at the top level, the middle level, and the lower level. And that there are other things we consider as the skills of management and also managerial roles. We looked at informational, decisional, interpersonal roles, technical skills, human skills, among others. Now, what brings us here is today's topic. And let me say that today we would have three tranches of the discussion. This is the first one, then we'll break and have the second, then we'll break again and have the third. Hopefully, we should be done within the space of the time allocated. So let's begin with the first, which is the development of the management thoughts. Colleagues, management did not just come yesterday. It is not a concept or a viewpoint that was formulated just a while ago or a week ago. This is a concept that has existed time immemorial, with a lot of persons writing about what the management effort should look like. A lot of them have expressed opinions, and these opinions I'll share with you. But at the end of the day, you should come to a realization as to which opinion do we believe in. And again, you would want to ask yourself whether the very old opinions will still apply today, given the fact that at some point in the time of history, they relied on such views to propel their management efforts. So may I repeat that we are going through the evolution and the development of the management thought, how it existed in the past, the very far past, and how it has existed in the recent past, and how it is existing in the modern day. So you may come with me and let's have the conversation. Now, the management thought evolved in three different approaches, predominantly three different approaches. We had the early classicals and their views, which was naturally represented by three theories or three views, which included the scientific management view, and we see that the administrative management view and the bureaucracy. Those were the very, very foremost persons who started the whole discussion about what the management thought should look like. So they are classified as the early classicals. So remember that the early classicals have three views underneath it in explaining what the management thought should look like. Then we have the neoclassicals. They are a bit on the far left of the early classicals, and they are normally represented by two views: the human relations movement and the behavioral approach. Now, these two views represent the neoclassicalists. They are on the far left of the early classicals, and we will see why. And finally, what we practice presently is what we have denoted as the modern approach, which is also represented by the quantitative approach to management, the systems approach, and the contingency approach. So these are the things we'll be looking at. The early classicals, what is their views? The viewpoint as it is in the scientific management, administrative, and bureaucratic management. What do they share? And why do I hold the very considered view that the neoclassicalists are on the other side of the early classicalists? And also, what do we make of the modern approach? Let's start with the first, the early classicals. The early classicals. And remember, they are all writing towards how management should look like within the realms of a business to achieve its objectives. Always keep in mind that management has been strongly defined as the optimal use of scarce resources towards achieving a goal. So this is clearly what these writers are aiming at, to develop the management function. The early classicals, like I've earlier alluded to, are of three folds: the scientific management theorists, the administrative management theories, and the bureaucratic management theories. Let's start with the scientific management theories. Look, the whole idea of the early classicals is that they see the human being in the organization as a tool. As a tool, a normal tool. That's how the early classical views human beings in an attempt to craft the management efforts. And the scientific management theory, which is the foremost proponent of the early classicals, normally spearheaded by F.W. Taylor. F.W. Taylor is of the view that human beings in the organization are mere tools, and the aim of every organization is productivity. The aim of every organization is productivity. And so we are not in the organization to come and pamper you. Your wife says, your husband calls you baby, hey, or him, Asantiwa, and all those things. And your wife may call you daddy, or Hercules, or Zeus. When you come to the workplace, as it relates to the scientific management view, they say you are a tool, you are a mere tool. You are of no prominence. You are just a means to an end. And so forget about whether you're a king or you're a queen in the house. But when you come to the workplace, provided you enter into the space of work, you are a tool. And your goal is productivity. We don't care how you feel or how you don't feel. So F.W. Taylor, in his scientific management view, came out with some parameters that we should obey to ensure that we meet the ends of productivity. Remember, I'm using two words that are common to them: tools and productivity. Now, what are the parameters that F.W. Taylor created in the scientific management view? First, that look, get employees that can engage in productivity with the less time and smaller movements. In other words, get people who can do the work in the shortest possible time with little movements. That is F.W. Taylor's view. that when you get someone or when you have an employee who takes a long time to do work, and the person will be having a lot of motions in the organization, roaming about here and there, that person is not required, it's not needed. That person might be fired. That is FW tells you. Remember, you are a tool towards productivity and nothing more. So the time emotion study is what he propounded. So while we go through our employee scale, we are looking at which employee can do the work with less time and less movements. So when I see Beta, I have to check how much time does Beta use to produce and how many movements does she make in the production effort. If I see that it is less, I'll say, okay, better, I'll employ you. But if I look elsewhere and I see, say, Elsie, and Elsie is just roaming about doing nothing. And when you give Elsie work to do, she's just dilly-dallying around the work, doing nothing, wasting a lot of time and space. That person will not be part of the recruitment base of FW Taylor. So that's the whole idea of the time emotion study that he propounded, that management should always target that. Less time, less motion. There's this shop in my area. There's an old woman who sits by it. And of course, it's a nice supermarket. But it's as if she doesn't want to sell anything in the shop. When you go and buy something in the shop, say water, she wants to chat with you first. How is your mother? How is your father? There was a funeral here. Do you know who died? And do you know who resurrected? There's a pastor here who prophesied that this will happen. The MP came to her. You have all, and you want only water. And she won't take the water. She's seated and she'll be chatting with you. Then, after you have had all those conversations, like 30 minutes, she stands up, go around for like 10 minutes, and she come back and say, the water is not cold, though. So why don't you try the next store? You know me, all this. And you made me come and chat about who become MP in the area, while your water is not cold. And she knows. But hers is that she just wants to chat. So now when she opens the door, we all run away from the stretch where she is. Because when now she doesn't wait for you to come and buy from her. When you are passing, she calls you and then starts the conversation and requests if you buy something. And definitely she will not have what you are buying. But the thing is projected in the shop. She won't find it. And she will allow you to enter and also pick the item. So clearly, when it comes to someone like that, in FW Taylor's view, you cannot employ such a person because he spends a lot of time. In her case, she expends a lot of time on unnecessary things. And as for the motion, though she's seated with less motions, when she goes around to take the product, she just roams and roams and comes up with nothing. FW Taylor is also of the view that, look, when it comes to payment systems, discriminate. Don't give equal pay. In the workplace, because remember, the goal is that they want to reach the ends of productivity, and you are a tool, a mere tool. And so discriminate with the payments so that when you see someone, so there's a standard that we should all achieve. So for example, say at the end of the week, we should have 30 bags of rice. That's the standard. 30 bags of rice. We should produce 30 bags of rice. FW Taylor is of the view that, look, if we get people who produce 30 bags of rice, give them their normal salary and let them go. If they can produce 30, what is projected? Give them their normal wage or salary and let them go. But if you get someone who produces 31 or 32, pay the person more. So you see, the whole idea is just about productivity, and they do not care whether you are breaking your back to meet the ends of productivity. Theirs is that you have produced more. So when you come to the workspace, 30 bags of rice is the target for the week, and you are able to produce 35. You get more wages, more wages. And this system still operates in America for as many of you as have the opportunity to travel outside the jurisdiction, especially in America where you work on a wage system, especially when you are not in direct employment, perhaps. Even if you are, they pay you hourly and all of that. Look, and you see Ghanaians, they're breaking their back. Ghanaians can work even 23 hours because of wages. And that is why I have an uncle who is in America. He's always annoyed. I didn't send him to go and do that work. But when he go, we always in Ghana used to call and ask him for money. So when we go, oh hello uncle, I'm dying. Oh. So send something small. Then he'll be insulting you because he thinks that he goes to work 20 hours and say Ghana we work only 8 hours. Now if 8 hours is done and there's no work, what should I do? I should go and stand by the workplace by force because you are working in America for 23 hours. Ghana, after 8 hours, we are done. They close everything. We are now waiting for John Mahama to open the economy. But until then, I can't, if I'm done with it, for example, this class, I'll be done hopefully 11. What should I be doing after 11? I'll go and sleep. I can't wait. So I can't look at my uncle and say, okay, differential payment, let me wait and then be hanging around. You know, you all not even be in the class. All right, but when you call him for money, it's annoying because of differential payments. He breaks his back to produce more, to earn more. But that's the FW Taylor's view. The goal is target productivity, and all other things will fall in place. So if you have a target, 30 bags, and you can produce 35 bags, that employee should be called into the kingdom because he would have met with the ends of productivity. Again, F.W. Taylor is of the view that there must be a drastic reorganization of supervision, i.e., those who are supervising should be the only ones thinking, and those doing the work should not think. Those supervising should think. Those doing the work should not think. So that there are pure processes in the organization. So that if you are, say, we are in the avenue of baking bread. If they mix the flour, yours is to pour it in a pan. The next person is to take it into the oven. I'm pretending I know how to bake bread, but just take the example as it is. We are not in a pre-vocational class. So the person mixes the flour. One person will mix the flour, then he'll pass it on to the other person to say break some eggs and add milk. And the next person would transmit the mixture into the oven. Let's give that 3 steps. So mix the flour, next person bests some eggs and some sweetness, and the third person places it in the oven. Now, what F.W. Taylor is saying is that, look, the one mixing the flour should not think. The one breaking the egg and the sweetener, don't think. The one placing it in the oven, don't think. Just do as you have to do, like a machine, because you are a tool. So it's not your place to come and say, did you mix the flour well? No, 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 no. Once they pass the flour to you, whether it's mixed well or not, you break the egg in it. And it's not up to the one who is going to put it in the oven to say, is this how we break the egg? See that you didn't even mix it. No, his own is place it in the oven. However it comes out, we would know at the end of the day how to check that. So those who are supervising us are the ones who should think. They are the ones who should think, oh, okay, why did you do it this way? Why do you do it? But for us, as the workmen or workwomen, for that matter, we are just not supposed to think. Can you imagine an organization where you don't think? As for me, I can't do it. You can't even express an opinion. Hey, as for me as a trained lawyer, I talk every day. I express my views. And so if I'm in that space, you recognize that I can survive. But that is the FW Taylor's proposition, that reorganize supervision. Those working should not think, and those thinking should not be in the workspace. They should just supervise. Whether you agree or not, that is you. Then he also says that there must be scientific recruitment and training. In other words, before you recruit someone, you need to be able to tell the person that this is our productivity goal. Are you able to do it or not? And sometimes I look at people's CV and I laugh. I can work under pressure. Who are you to work under pressure? When pressure comes, you run away from the workspace. But you see it on your CVs. I'm a workaholic. You can't even work. You say you're a workaholic. Do you know who a workaholic is? Please. But that's what FW Taylor is saying. That show express to the potential employee that this is what we do here. Oh. So if you are coming, you're either coming with us or we would leave you behind. And in that system, you can recruit people who know what they are coming to do as it pertains to productivity. And when you bring in the people, train them. Remember that they are not going to think as workmen. So train them so that they become tools to be used to the ends of productivity. And finally, the very minimal point FW Taylor focuses on is that there might be an intimate, friendly cooperation between management and workers. So management and workers should have some clear, friendly cooperation. He says intimate though, but he doesn't really mean it. The point is that in totality, FW Taylor, which is a key proponent of the early classical view, which is viewed as scientific management theory, is seeing the whole workspace and its employees as a tool towards a productivity end, and nothing else matters to him. That is the first. There, of course, will be some limitations to this, but we'll look at them when we look at those on the far left of the conversation. Now, let's come to the second view. Are there questions on the first view? We are still on early classicals. I said there are three theories underneath it. We have looked at FW Taylor's view. But remember that the early classicals are geared towards achieving productivity. Any questions, comments, or contributions so far? Okay, let's go to the next theory under the early classicals. And this is the administrative management theory. And this is a commoner when it comes to the management and management science. Henry Fayol. Henry Fayol is also of the view that, look, and remember, the early classicals are thinking of what? Productivity. Remember that, oh. Don't go write any dubious thing in the exam. Oh. That HA said, that's why I'm repeating it ad infinitum, that the early classicals are focusing on productivity. All right. Now, Henry Fayol is of the fervent view that, look, you want productivity. I can show you another way which is different from Taylor. Taylor says they are tools. As for me, I'll not say yes or no. But for me, I'm giving you clear guidelines to follow in the organization. And that is my view of management. So here, Henry Fayol, who is the father of the administrative management thoughts, is arguing that, look, in the workspace, we need to just put some parameters in place. And he has some principles that we'll look at. But he first defines the functions of management. And we have looked at this. And so we would carefully not repeat it. But except to say that he defines the functions of management as planning, organizing, and in some literature, I see directing and controlling. But in some literature, the directing is split into commanding and coordinating. Some even add leadership. But be that as it may, his view is that we have to define the functions of management to include planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling. Now, within that definition, then he comes up with 14 principles that must guide the workspace towards the achieving of the management thoughts. Please remember that we are looking at how the early classicals developed the management thoughts. What was their thinking at the time? And whether it is applicable now. We have looked at F.W. Taylor. And let me say before F.W. Taylor that the whole idea of the early classicals is that there must be productivity at all costs. And as part of the early classicals, we have the scientific management theories, F.W. Taylor, the lead proponent, saying that, look, human beings are tools. So to meet the ends of productivity, ensure they work within less time, less motions. They shouldn't be thinking in the workspace and all of that. The second, under the early classicals, is Henry Fayol under the administrative management theory. And he says, well, Taylor's view may be a bit harsh because we have boyfriends and girlfriends. We are wives and husbands. And some are husbands of 10 wives. And so though you are not rules, we still want to meet the ends of productivity. So you do it this way. What he does is he first defines the function of management to include planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling. And he says, now, if that is the definition of the management thought, then I'm going to use 14 principles in the workspace to guide the management efforts towards achieving productivity. So he starts off, and I'll take a few and have a conversation on it. He starts off, division of work. He says, look, once you set up an organization, know that one person cannot do everything. So divide the work. You may be a jack of all trade, but we care less. Divide the work. I have this pastor in the church. I later on ran away from the church. Even if they are doing women's fellowship, he is there. Youth meeting, he is there. Micromanaging everything. Single summit, he is there. Single summit. You are married. And what made me leave the church was Valentine's Day. We said, oh, love affair, Valentine's Day. And so we gathered the young ladies in the church so that at least after the love affair, then we can pair a boy and a girl, those things we do, beloved, so that at least they can try themselves more and see if it will work. Because for a long time now, they were not getting married in the church. So we were doing some pairing. I was also there, though I am out of the market, but I was just there to guide the process. But I had one as part of my voluntary service, and he was there. Now we couldn't pair. Now we have finished the talk. He should go. The pastor is still there. We say, oh, pastor, thank you. So now we are going to the next session. He was there. Now we couldn't pair. Wow. All these things, you recognize that it's micromanaging the whole effort. You can do everything. Go and sleep, pastor. Go and sleep. Some things are for us only, but you don't sleep. So he just jeopardized the whole thing. All right. So now the view is that when it comes to the management effort, divide the work. And when you divide the work, according to Henry Fayol, then assign authority and responsibility. So once we divide, okay, you are in marketing, you are in finance, you are in human resource, then give them some authority. Tell the marketing person that, look, you have authority over 5 people and you are responsible for them, and you give them targets. You are in charge of the 5 people, so make sure at the end of the day bring 5 customers. So at the very minute level, you are delegating authority and responsibility. That is Henry Fayol's view. You go to the finance department, you select a leader, and he's in charge of, say, 3 people. One is accounting, one is capital assets, one is debt restructuring. And then assign them authority and responsibility. Again, he also says that discipline, ensure discipline. Come to work at 6 a.m. By 6 a.m., you must be there. And the view Henry Fayol shares is that when people breach the rule, it must be punishable so that there is discipline in the workspace. 6 o'clock, we are all there. 4 p.m., we all close. And also, there must be unity of command. And by unity of command, we mean that we should be able to tell who our boss is, at least at the micro level. Employees should know who they report to. There must be a unity of command. We don't want 2 bosses to be in charge of 1 person. 2 bosses is like some master's class I'm teaching. There are 2 professors who are in charge of the course. One will say, teach chapter 1 to chapter 5. I say, yes, prof. The other one will say, hey, who told you to teach chapter 1 to chapter 5? I'm the one setting the question. Teach chapter 1 to chapter 8. Okay, yes. Which one am I going to obey? And finally, one will bring areas for exams. You say, oh, the first 2 chapters are for quiz. Next 2 chapters are for the other one. Say, how can you go to school and then you have only 2 chapters for quiz? My friend, first 5 chapters for quiz, and both of them are the head of the courses. So now when you are teaching, you can't even tell what to teach. I'm a mere doctor. I have no power. I'm just here. And so whatever they speak, thy servant hear it. So at the end of the day, you don't see that unity of command, and you don't see which one to obey. All right. So Henry Fayol is saying that is wrong management, and that for the management effort, there must be unity of command. Let us report to 1 person, and let that person also know who we report to at the end of the day. And it should not just be anyone directing any person. Again, Henry Fayol argues quite forcefully that there must be unity of direction. What here we speak about focus, purpose. The purpose of the organization is what we should all have as employees. We should not be in the workspace and be thinking of other things that do not match the purpose of the organization. You may call it conflict of interest, but we need not be conflicted. If the goal of the organization is towards getting 30 customers, let's have a unity of purpose and direction to all get 30 customers. We do not expect that if in pursuit of the 30 customers, you would have, say, the finance team say, why do you want a bus? Marketing team wants 30 people. That's the target. And we all benefit if the marketing team gets the 30 people. But finance release money for a bus so that we can use for our advertising effort. Finance team says there is no money. It means that at that point, there is no unity of direction or purpose, because the purpose would have been defeated by the nonchalance of the finance team. All right, so those things are crucial, as Henry Fayol makes it, that look, have a unity of direction. And again, subordination of individual interest to the general interest. Once there's unity of the direction, we are careful to see that our individual interest will be less, and the general interest will be what will characterize all of us in the organization. Once we have a unity of purpose, we have one mind, we can build the Tower of Babel. And indeed, you recognize that our individual interests, though they may be important, but will be subjected to the general interest. And again, Henry Fayol calls also for good remuneration. It doesn't joke with it. That there must be equal pay for equal work. When persons engage in work, remunerate them well so that they are able to repeat such efforts in the organization. So remember that what Henry Fayol is doing is just to show how to manage what he thinks should be the management effort, and not what F.W. Taylor is saying, but both of them want productivity. That is why they are in the early classicals. They all want productivity. But whereas F.W. Taylor is saying they are tools, Henry Fayol is saying, look, there are some principles that you should just go by and you should achieve such ends. We have done 7 of them, I suppose. He also says centralized power. Centralized power. Don't just allow for anything. Centralized power. And also ensure that there's proper communication channel. That's what he calls the scalar chain. Communication. The scalar chain. Proper communication channel. When someone wants to express a grievance, where does he go to? When someone wishes to make an information known to the CEO, which channels are there presently in the organization? There must be a scalar chain. We need to be clear of the lines of communication. And also there must be order in the organization. Everything must be placed in order. Human beings must live their lives orderly, and it is beautiful when you go to the banks. Everyone appears to be serious, but they are not that they are serious in real life. Those people at the bank, they are not serious. They are like us. We are all in the area. We eat wajem, but if you go and see them in the bank, we see you 10 times seated and say, hello, how are you? How much will you pay? They are just pretending. But because of the view of order, so you see them as a very nice society. But in real life, they may not be reasonable people, with great respect. But once you see them there, because of the Henry Fayol's view of having order in the workspace, they abide by it. Also, there should be equity. There should be correct representation, men and women alike. There also should be the fact that when you enter the workspace, you shouldn't tell them that, oh, you next year when we get huge numbers, then we'll see whether we can extend your tenure. No, human beings work with stability, and the reason why sometimes, as I go around to engage in teaching, the reason why teaching in the private school has never been my focus, private university, is that there was one I worked with, and when it's the end of the month, they'll come and say, see, this year, you see that we didn't get a lot of students. I said, and so we are waiting for them to pay their school fees. Then we'll pay you, and also see if you come next semester. So I have wives and children, and I also have a lot of ladies who I like. So how will I tell them? And also, I've told them I'm a lecturer of good standing, and now you are telling me that they've not paid school fees. And what really gets me bored is that he will say, okay, then you, when you teach tomorrow, update your status that the school, we are still admitting, and we'll give you fuel for you to go around and go and do marketing of the school. I say, super. So I'm stuck with the public. As for public university, whether you sleep When you sleep and you wake up, end of month, your salary is there. When they don't pay, we go for strike. That's all. And so there's always that stability in the mind of the public worker than it is with the private sector. That is why in Ghana, the public sector is more lucrative, though the private sector are doing well. But the tenor of the personnel is really, really dicey. And also ensure that each person in the workspace takes initiative towards the goal of changing the focus of the organization to be better. And there must be what we call an esprit de corps. We must all work together. We must have that team spirit in the workspace. And then clearly we can reach the management efforts. That is Henry Fayol. That's what he says we should be doing in the space of management. That's his view. 14 principles. Having defined the function of management, it states 14 principles. F.W. Taylor says there are tools: time and motion study, differential payments, reorganize supervision. Don't let them be thinking too much. And Fayol says, rather do the 14 things and you would meet the ends of productivity. But I've told you that the early classicals have one other person, because there are 3 theories that support that view, which is productivity oriented. That is a profound Max Weber under the bureaucratic management theory. As for Max Weber, his concept is simple. He says that you want to manage human beings in an organization, put rules and regulations. Put rules and regulations. They will abide. Let there be clear hierarchy. Let everyone knows the rule. When it comes to promotion, let us know that when we work 5 years, we are up for promotion. We don't want any additional information. Let there be rules and regulations. Thou shalt not. Thou shalt. And run the organization with rule. So he is rule-based. Max Weber. He says he doesn't care whose ox is God. He doesn't care who is offended. Breach the rule, you are out. You abide by the rules, you are in. Because he sees productivity as a result of abidance by rules. So it's not the time for you to say, oh, you want to sidestep the rules like us lawyers do. That's not the place. It's not the Supreme Court to go and argue that I thought public office means this. No. In Max Weber's view, come at 6 a.m. you come. 12 p.m. go on break, you go. 1 p.m. you are back from break. And in fact, it reminds me, I'm in Kumasi currently. I normally would be resident in Cape Coast. But this Christmas, in pursuit of money, money is evil. Don't follow it, okay? But what can you do? Sikaye moja. In pursuit of money, I've come to Kumasi. I'm coming to teach. And I should be teaching them today, except that because I'll be meeting you eminent people, I'll giving them assignment to do during the period. And colleagues, this kind of teaching, and I'll mention the stream of teaching this is, but they have come them at one place. And I think they are in dormitories or something. So by 7 a.m. there's class 7 to 9 amongst others, and you can go there. I recall the first day I went there. This is my first time teaching Kumasi. When I got there, 7 a.m. In the regular stream, I'm very strict. Come on time. I respect my time. I don't joke. When I got there, 7 a.m. They are holding bucket. They are going to take their bath. The course rep has put towel on his neck. So when I got there, I said, he said, hey, sir, you have come, Akwaba. I said, And he said, hey, sir, we are now going to bath. I said, I'm not going to bath. What's the meaning of all of this? He said, hey, save the right 7 o'clock, come at 7:30 because here we don't wake up early. I was shocked. And this one too, we are coming to teach here, but we are teaching. According to Max Weber, if the person places towel on their neck at 7 o'clock, sack the person. That's Max Weber, because he's not abiding by the rules. And you should see them in class, the way they sleep. Hey, Jesus. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. So, Max Weber is of the view that once there is structural rules and hierarchy, you meet the ends of productivity. All right. So, colleagues, this is the 3. Remember that, and I'm projecting early classical, the first ones, they are 3, right? They believe they are production oriented. Scientific management, administrative management, and bureaucracy management, they are all under the first point, early classicals. And the scientific is headed by F.W. Taylor, tools towards productivity. Henry Fayol says principles towards productivity and gives 14 of them. Max Weber says rules, enforceable rules. You breach it, you are out towards productivity. These are the first early classical approaches. Any questions on that? Or contributions? Contributions when necessary? Right, we'll proceed. I'm sure by now some of you are sleeping, or some of you are even in the market, or some are even bathing for their children, and they are here. Okay, but you'll be pretending. I know no one is seated with pen and paper. Oh, it's not true. Some are even in a bus. Yes, Daniel. Proceed.
Please, Doc. I think productivity went through the various theories. What then is the meaning of productivity in this case?
Most grateful, Daniel. Daniel, I'm sure you are seated with a pen and a. So here, productivity is output. Increased output. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I've counted 2. Thank you. Output. So productivity is output. Is that okay, Daniel? Output. So once we can reach our output, increased output, then we say that we are productive. Is that okay? To them, that's to them.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Pleasure. A beautiful question. Okay. Now, you recall when I started my introduction, imagine you were here. I said that I think, okay, Samuela is still unmuted. So kindly note that anything you say in your house, we can hear you. Okay. All right. So I, in my introduction, said that the early classicals, those on the far left, are the neoclassicals. And now to explain. The early classicals are saying that we are tools and we are guided by rules and principles, as though we are not people of creative conscience, as though we are, with the greatest of respect, animals. Abide by rules, sack us, and all of that. When we don't obey the rules, sack us. When we spend a lot of time doing work, sack us from the workplace, as though we are not. We are puppets, to say the least, with the greatest of respect. So these neoclassicals came out to say, hey, master, we are real human beings. Don't treat us as tools. We are human beings. The fact that you've employed us for 8 hours does not mean that you should use us and utilize us with such magnitude. And like the intelligent question Daniel asked, is it productivity is about increased output. But you know really what long-term productivity should mean for us. So they came in with a sharp focus, which was distinct and different from the view of the early classicals. So for the neoclassicals, their view was employee-centered. They are employee-oriented. Whereas the early classicals are productivity-oriented, come what may. The neoclassicals also took the extreme. They say we are employee-oriented. They are of 2 categories. They're first. So remember, neoclassicals are all employee oriented, whereas the early classicals are production oriented. Now, the human relations movement is their first, led by the eminent persons like Professor Elton Mayo. And what is their view? Their view is that look, the workplace should be a harmonious place where we interrelate. Because look, can't you think of it? After school, if you get some job to do, provided that there's some stability in tenure, you spend your whole life at the workplace. It's like your second home. So the human relations movement is saying, no, create the space for us to live as a happy family. Let us, look, it's not about productivity alone. No. Let us be friends. Let us be in a family. Respect our emotions. And you know that if you have worked for a long while, you know that every man has an office wife. You know, every man has a real wife in the house and the one in the office. I recall when my dad died and we were going around to spread the news in his office that, oh, he has died. Oh. Immediately we said, oh, this and this is dead. One woman just collapsed on the floor. And when she collapsed, one lady said, oh, wifey, wifey, wako. I said, hey, where is my mother? She should come and see what my father was doing at the workplace. Hey, the woman just collapsed. So that is the human relations movement. Theirs is that let us live in harmony in the workplace. And when we seek first the employee relationship, the other things like productivity and the rest will come as a matter of consequence. Because we are united, we can all come together and create the production that you need. We are happy, we are fine. So forget about those things about tools like the early classicals and help us stay in harmony with each other. And again, not everyone needs financial rewards like the early classicals are saying. Increase pay when we increase productivity and all of that. You think we all think about financial benefits? No. So create a harmonious space and let's operate. Because for some of us, for all we need is just a mere thank you. Oh, darling, thank you. There's this group I'm in, a nice group. And it's also a teaching group. There are some nice ladies there. And because I appear to be the older one, they call me daddy. Oh, the way I like that group. Anytime I'm sent to teach in Sunyani, that they are a group of lecturers. Oh, it's beautiful. They bring food for me. Some come and visit me in my room, but not what you're thinking. We are just in the room chatting. So all those things, you see that you are happy. So when I go and teach, I can teach for even 8 hours. I'm not tired because I know that it's a lovely family. But you people online, I don't even care who is online. You see, some of you have been taking your bath. So this one, if it is small, you are tired because there is no family anywhere. No one calls me daddy anywhere. So we'll proceed. So the thing is that Professor Elton Mayo is saying, let there be some harmonious filial relationship in the workspace. Then we'll produce. But he has some difficulties again. Can you sure we cannot? Are you really sure, I should say, that we can all be a happy family? Hey, in the workspace, if you have worked for a while, are you sure that workers can come together and be one? Hey, it is impossible. Some workers have their view. When everyone is going right, some one worker will be saying some things that are unnecessary. So that view about human relations, sometimes it's defeatist, but that is their view in the neoclassicals, that let us be employee-centered. The next group, which is a bit different from the human relations, but coincides with it, is the behavioral approach. The leaders like Abraham Maslow and the rest, they say that look, the human being in the organization is a function of a lot of things. The behavior of a human being in the organization can be predicted, and in some respects cannot be predicted. Because look, when I wake up in the morning, I recall when I was preparing for this lecture, when I switch on the light, then my wife will use her leg to switch it off. And when I switch it on again, which money at all are they paying you that you're always disturbing me with the light? So I am angry already before I've come to the class. Okay? So this person in the workspace, immediately you get me annoyed, I'll give it to you. Not because you have done anything, no, but because my wife is using her leg to switch off the light. So you see,
Transfer of anger.
you get it. So I will bring the anger to you. But you see, you may not have done anything. So the human being is a composite behavioral person that if you don't take care, they may be in the workspace, but their mindset, their behaviors cannot be predicted. There's a watchman in a company. They pay him very well, a watchman, security man in English parlance, but watchman in our view. They pay him very well. And in fact, the company moved from their old workspace to a new workspace. So they left their old site and moved to the new site. Now, when they moved to the new site, he realized that having gone to the new site, he's still outside. In fact, at the old site, he was sitting outside. That's his space. In a security man, where will you sit? And so when they moved to the new site, they put him outside. They pay him very well. He was with a Lebanese company. Now he got annoyed. He was dissatisfied. Anytime he comes to work, he's not happy. What is accounting for the disaffection? No one knows until the CEO asks him, Master, but why are you now treating our customers like this? And ever since we moved, he said, but you people, when you were moving, at least the new building, you didn't even allocate some small place for me and just write even security manager or security staff so that it would be my personal office. You still kept me outside. Can you imagine? How can you think about this as a manager? It will not even occur to you that a security man also needs an office because we are full of behaviors and you would never know. So within a short time, they built some small office and they wrote security manager on it. Hey, now when you go, he's working hard. The pay has not increased. Oh, he's working hard. When you come, oh, I'm going to my office. I will come back. And that is all. That person is happy because there's an office he will not send home. Can you imagine? These are the behaviors that human beings exhibit in the workplace. So when you're managing them, you cannot manage them as tools. There are some people, when they see their bosses, just by seeing them, they are annoyed. I don't know. There are people in life, when you see them, they just get you pissed off. For me, there are some people, when I look at them, I don't know them, but just the way they look, they are so annoying. And there are some people too, I don't know them, but when I see them, I'm happy. So naturally, these are behaviors we will show in the workplace. And you have to manage all of this. Remember that we are a composite of behavioral persona. And so you need to interrogate our behaviors before we can lead our efforts to productivity. Otherwise, we'll be in the workplace and will not produce anything because our behaviors have been undermined. So this accounts for the neoclassicalists. These guys, two approaches. One says a big happy family. The other one says look within the person because the behavior is what is crucial towards meeting the ends. So may I repeat, the early classicals are productivity oriented. The neoclassicals are employee oriented. Any questions? Then we go to the third. Any questions? All right. Or perhaps contributions. All right. In the absence of that, I'm minded to proceed to the third part, which is a modern approaches. The modern approach is also of three folds, and they are all trying to help us develop the management thoughts. And these are the modern ways that we see management in three folds: the quantitative approach, the systems approach, and the contingency approach. These are three. So remember, the early classicals are three: scientific, administrative, and bureaucratic theories fall under the early classicals. The neoclassicals, we have the human relations and the behavioral approach. Those are only two. Then the modern approach, you have three also: quantitative approach, the systems approach, and the contingency approach. We'll look at the first. The quantitative approach. Here, we are using data, and as most of you may be researchers, you now use data. Okay, you collect data to make management decisions. So here it's data driven. You are taking data on your operations. How many did we produce today? How many did we produce at the end of the week? You are taking clear data on your operations. We call that management science. So that at the end of the day, you are not wishfully thinking. You know how much rice bags we produce in a day, how much for a week, how much for a year. And you know that, okay, when you added this sweetener, this was the output, this was the market acceptability. You know it with real data on your operations, because now the view here, and may I say that as for the modern approach, they are more data driven and circumstantial. They are data driven and circumstantial. I'll repeat before I come to this again. The early classicals are productivity oriented. The neoclassicals are employee oriented. And the modern approach are data driven and circumstantial. I hope you write that, because you don't find them anywhere in the slide. The early classicals are productivity oriented. The neoclassicals are employee oriented. And the modern approach are data driven and circumstantial. Now, the data driven bit of it is approaches like the quantitative approach, where you take operational data. What were the number of raw materials you put in the system to achieve these results? When we put sugarcane in the Commander Sugar Factory, how many bags of sugar did we get? We need to know. We need to use sampling and all of that to reach that view. So remember that the operations, research, and statistical methods are all functions of the quantitative approach. If you can see it as projected. To take data from your raw materials, your costs, your inputs, and to be able to project well. And then also you engage in sampling throughout the organization and outside. That is why some of us as researchers, you go and ask your customers, are you satisfied with the product and all of that? We want data to drive our management efforts. The next approach under the modern approach. So remember that the quantitative guys are data oriented. They use data to run managerial decisions, not just wishful thinking. The next is the system approach. The system approach. Here, it integrates the classical approach, the behavioral approach, and the quantitative schools. It integrates all what we have done. And the target is that the business does not operate only on one leg. The business needs productivity, needs employees to be happy, and also needs data to run. So the system approach calls for integration. Integrate the good of all of them. The system approach says use the integration approach. At some time you can go classical, at some time you can go behavioral or neoclassical, and at some time you can go quantitative, data driven, so that you meet the ends of the objectives of the business. That's the systems approach. It combines the good of all of them. That's the more as part of the modern approach. It tells you, look, you are not bound by classicals, early classicals. Neither are you bound by the behavioralists or the neoclassicals. You are not also bound by the quantitative school. Treat the best of both worlds. Integrate all the three to have an organization that is fervently running. That's the systems approach. And the final approach is the contingency approach. As for this part, remember that the contingency approach may look like the systems approach, but it is very different. Whereas the systems approach is integrate the three, contingency approach is look, none of them is applicable under every circumstance. Make sure that if you're, by virtue of your business, you think that it is the new classicals that work for you, choose it. And if at the end of the day it's not working, change it. So be circumstantial about it. There's no one size fit all. Choose anyone in the very circumstance that requires it. So if you have paid, and I'm asking a question, you have paid the workers high wages, high wages, high salaries, and the productivity is not coming. Which approach should you use to spare productivity? Let me hear you. You pay them high salaries. They are still not. Yes, proceed, Rita.
I think behavioral.
You use behavioral. Okay, good. You may use behavioral because you have done your bit. So now you have to recheck what is wrong with them. Any other view? Okay, all right. So like Rita said, behavioral. I also use scientific. But after all the money I've paid you, I'll use some rule-based approach. When you don't deliver, I'll sack you from the organization because you're a waste of private resource. All right, so that is it. So like I said, the modern approach, they are more circumstantial. They are data-driven and circumstantial. So the quantitative says, look, gather data and make managerial decisions. When it comes to the systems approach, it says, look, integrate all the models as you go along. Contingency says choose the one that is applicable in the course of time. If it is failing, change it because you have all this within your space. I thank you very much. So we looked at the development of the management thoughts, and clearly our concentration is on these three approaches. The early classicals, productivity oriented, the neoclassicals are employee oriented, and the modern approach are data driven and circumstantial. Underneath are various models that we should study, and we have gone through all. Are there any questions, comments? Otherwise, we'll break for the first part and we'll come to part two. Any questions, comments? All right. In the absence of any, we'll take it's my time is 8:14. We'll come back at 8:20. Is it 8:14? 8:24, 10 minutes. We'll come back at 8:24 to continue with the second part. Thank you very much. All right. Welcome back, eminent people, as we delve into the next part of our discussion, which is the business and its environment. I hope I can be heard.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we'll proceed. Now remember that from the outset, we looked at the management function and the fact that management is the utilization of scarce resources towards achieving an optimal benefit. Now, having said that, we also agreed in the discussion earlier that management could be in levels, and in fact, there are some roles that a manager should play, spanning from the managerial, interpersonal, informational to decisional roles. In fact, we looked at some technical and human skills and conceptual skills, which culminated into the skills that a manager should have. In fact, we rested on the fact that whereas it is an art, it is also an inexact science. The time that just passed, we had to look at the fact of the development of the management thought, the whole management idea, so that when you say that I'm managing an organization, what do we mean? And we had expressions on some 3 key developments to the management thought. In fact, we had agreed on the first school, which is the early classicals, and their approach was productivity oriented. They will do any and everything to achieve productivity. As for F.W. Taylor and his scientific management, he says that we are tools and that we should be able to do work in less time and less motion. When it comes to Henry Fayol, he says that no, though we are productivity inclined, it means a lot more than just using employees as tools. What you should do to gain productivity is follow some 14 principles. He first started off by defining the management function to include planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling. And he proceeds to some 14 principles like scalar chain, unity of command, unity of direction, division of work, amongst others. The bureaucratic view also came into play, the Marx, whereby it says lead by rules, that the consequence of the abidance by rules should lead to productivity. So those rested the early classicals and their views. Why that it may be, there was a great and grand opposition to that view. And the opposition was led by persons like Professor Elton Mayo and also Abraham Maslow. And their view is that no, the human being is not just a characteristics of finances. And that embedded in the human being is a relational element. So the human relations formed by Elton Mayo held the view that look, let us focus on a happy family in the workplace. But the behavioralists are also saying, in addition to that, think of the behavior, what is leading to the behaviors of the employees in the space. And that accounted for the neoclassical view. But in fact, the modern approach is what was laid bare in just a few minutes ago, that now we are data-driven and circumstantial. The quantitative approach is take cogent quantitative information, both operationally and statistically, and make real predictions. Let everything we do be data-driven. The others, like the systems approach, is look, benefit from the good of all the worlds. You have the behavioralists, you have the classicalists, and also the data-driven guys. Benefit from them. Use all of them, because it is the union of all these approaches that could guarantee an organization's end. But the contingency approach, which is part of the model approach, is look, you are not bound by any of the 3 or one of them. As you move, the one that works for you, deal with it. If you realize that the classical approach is good for your job because you're in the space of manufacturing industry, so be it. If you're in a service sector and you think that you are going to interact with customers outside and you think that your customer service personnel must be smiling all along, then focus on employee orientation. You are not bound by any of these. As and when issues should come up, deal with them in accordance with the wisdom of the management thought. That is where we left the conversation. And then we summarize that whereas the early classicals are productivity oriented, the neoclassicals are employee oriented, and the modern approach are data driven and circumstantial. Now we've left off there to an important conversation in management, which is that look, the business does not operate in a vacuum. All what we have said, the business must exist in a certain space or environment. The business is not only operating in the air, the business is in a certain environment, and our understanding of that environment should be able to help our management efforts. Otherwise, if we close our eyes to the fact of the environment and all we are operating with is the knowledge that stems from what we have planned as the chief executives and all of that, it will fail drastically. That we should be more centered on what exists in the environment. And I recall a master's question that was asked in 2018 MBA class by a good professor. He says, no man is an island. Explain this in relation to businesses. And that question, we should be able to answer it by the end of this discussion. No man is an island. Explain in relation to businesses. We would have to answer it by the end of this course. So as we zero into the discussion, let's see, what do we get from all of this? Remember that, as I have pointed out, that the business does not operate in vacuum. The business would therefore have some forces around it or within it. And the forces that are around or within the organization are the organization's environment. And the manager, with his salt or with her salt, should be able to understand how these environmental factors that are always changing could play or act on the organization. That is what a good manager should do. So by way of definition, an environment will consist of forces that exist within or outside the organization that affects the organization or is affected by the organization. Look, and if you listen to the definition, it says that they exist within and outside of the organization. So there are some environments that are within, and there are some environments that are outside the organization. Those that are within are the internal environment, and those that are outside are the external environment. Let's start with the external environment. Look, all forces outside the organization that can greatly impact the organization or the business also affects it. It's the external environment, all forces. Except that, they say some friends are closer than a brother. So there are some external or externalities that are closer to the organization that we call directly interactive. And there are some that are, though they're in the environment, they are far off. So like a human being, you may have some close friends, and you may have some friends are far off. I recall when we were in JHS, I don't know, was it primary or JHS? There was this gentleman, and I thought he was my best friend. We used to play ball together, and oh Jesus, we did everything together. We ate together. A boy at the time, we were very young and small. Then they gave us an essay to write. Write about your best friend. Okay. So at that tender age, I think I was 9 or 10. I wrote, and obviously I mentioned his name as my best friend. Wrote about him. Ah, okay. We finished the exams and everything. They brought the scores. And the guy, my friend, is called Washington. I know he may not be on the screen, so I'll mention his name. He can go to hell. So Washington was the one who topped. Fortunately or unfortunately, he topped. Having mentioned his name that he topped, so I was thinking that, oh, then he wrote about me. Before long, his best friend is a girl. He wrote, my best friend is Isabella. I said, hey. So there are some friends that you think are your friends, but to them, they are not your friends. So from that day, no one is my friend. And from that 9 years or 10 years till now, I don't have any best friend. Though my wife says that I'm her best friend, I don't subscribe to that very unimportant view. She's not my best friend. I'll still need to find my. But from that time till now, I have not had any best friend because in their business environment, there are friends that are directly interactive, closer to you. And there are some friends in the external environment that are far off. You only know their names or perhaps their faces, but you cannot tell any relationship with them. That is the same for the business. So the environment that has immediate and first-hand impact on the organization, say they are directly interactive. But those that are indirectly interactive are the ones that are secondary and more distant. The directly interactive ones are owners outside the environment, or in the external environment, I should say, outside the business. They are owners, those who essentially founded the business. And I use founded legally to mean persons who engaged in efforts to finance the business and to ensure that the business stands. I hope you are aware that no one owns a business. Are you aware that no one owns, I should say, no one owns a company? Are you aware that no one owns a company? Are you aware that in law, no one owns a company? Anyone knows that?
Okay.
Oh, so let me put the question this way. Who owns a company? Who owns a company? Who are the owners of the company?
Shareholder.
I didn't hear that, sorry.
Shareholder.
Shareholders, okay. Who is coming? Rita.
I was also about to say shareholders.
You're about to say, but you've not said it all.
Shareholders.
Shareholders, okay. Okay.
But the rare owners are the stakeholders. Stakeholders.
Stakeholders. Okay, so you have changed the chart sheet. Okay. You
Uh-huh.
changed the pink sheet to stakeholders. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. Any more? Who owns a company? A company.
The partners are part of the stakeholders.
The partners,
But they are
okay.
part of the stakeholders.
Or what do you think? They are part, yes. So they are parts. Okay. All right. So, colleagues, let me announce to you that no one owns a company. No one. You've not heard of this, that the company owns itself. You've not heard of it before. A company owns itself. Who had heard of it before? And what is that principle called?
And can be sued and be sued. He can sue and be sued.
That is so, Stephen. Yes. So what's the principle called, Stephen? Having said the long version, what's the principle called?
Separate legal entity.
Excellent, Daniel. So you know you were saying all these things. Okay, good.
Entity concept.
Samuel, you see, you have now brought the answer. Yes, entity concept. And you're saying partners, Partners outside. Okay, good. So under company law, and that's only restricted to companies, the company owns itself. And so you are very sure that the company has the veritas, the capacity to sue and also be sued. But in these terms, however, though we know that fictionally, the company owns itself, there are people who, in fact, brought out their monies and time to form the company. And they must also be compensated for. Those people, we call them beneficial owners. Beneficial owners. So, like it was rightly mentioned, shareholders. Shareholders are beneficial owners of the company, but they are not necessarily the owners in law. The owners are, or the owner of the company itself. So, having said that, however, in the space of the environment, the external environment, the owners are close, like a brother. They are close. If they say we are sending our money out, we will not continue the business again, we are finished. The business stands liquidation. Again, customers. Their customers are also close, like a brother in the organization. They are so close because they are the targets of every organization's output. We target customers. We don't produce for self-aggrandizement. We don't produce to just make ourselves happy that, hey, we produce a car. No, having produced a car, you want to transmit it to customers because they are your focal point. And so they are close to the environment such that when they say they don't want to continue with you, you are finished. You are finished. Those are customers. They have power. And if you read literature like literature from Philip Kotler, a well-written and well-read author, Philip Kotler, he tells you that in the age of consumerism, customers are important. They decide the fate of every business, whether I like it or not. I recall, is it this class or perhaps not? There is some tailor in my area. He has written on his kiosk that no mini skirt. Can you imagine? No mini skirt. So when you come and you want to sew kaba and slit, and the kaba and slit will be, is it higher than the knee level? You say you won't sew it. He's a pastor. He says when he sews it, he will go to hell. So he has written on his kiosk, no mini skirt. The company has collapsed, or the kiosk is in tatters. No mini skirt says you are moving within the space of what the customers want. And if you don't sew the mini skirt, how can some of us survive in the space of work? Okay, we the men, that is what we use during break time. So you see, at the end of the day, his kiosk has collapsed. His tailor work has collapsed because no mini skirt. Customers are the ones that drive the fate of the organization. So you can sit in the organization and plan all you care, but your plan is at the mercy of customers saying that I like the product. If they don't like it, to hell with your planning. You fail wondrously in the space. All right, so customers are closer like a brother. Suppliers can jeopardize your whole operation. Suppliers can jeopardize the whole operation. And indeed, and in fact, you can have a production space. But when suppliers say won't give you your input again, you are finished. In Ghana, Commander's Sugar Factory is getting rotten in the central region. Commander is in Elmina also. Because there's no one to produce sugarcane. So there's a factory ready to take in sugarcane. But who is going to produce the sugarcane? Who is going to grow and harvest sugarcane? So suppliers are crucial. They can mess you up. And if you have done a bit of economics, I'm sure, I'll ask this question. Where there is only one supplier in the market, what do we call that market?
Monopoly.
Monopoly. Okay. Now, where there are few suppliers that have formed that are together and running the market. They are just few, very few, like 4 or 3, and they are running the market. Like the telecommunication sector, we have only few people running the sector. What is it called?
Oligopoly.
Ah, yes, that's correct. Oh, shout it, shout it, shout
Competitive
it.
market.
Say again. Oh, the person who said it has changed the answer.
Oligopoly.
The way you are saying it, as if you don't know if it is correct or it is wrong. So maybe I'll be bold. What is it?
Oligopoly.
That is so correct. Oligopoly. Yeah, yes, Amelia. I'm now sure that you are seated with a pen and paper. Good. So oligopoly. Now, when you have suppliers who are either alone in the system, or perhaps they have formed a conglomerate, or they have coalesced around a certain viewpoint. If they say we would ensure that this company collapses, it will collapse. I tell you what, in the oil and gas sector, we have the downstream, midstream, and upstream. We can leave that. What is important here is that if you have a fuel station, let's bring it locally to our balance. If you have a fuel station, the oil or the petrol you get, let me just use it plainly, the crude or petrol you use, the petroleum products you use, is coming from the midstream. There are people who we call bulk oil distributors, BDCs. They are in the midstream. Now they can decide that, look, we will not give you fuel. So imagine they say, oh, you imagine you have a fuel station, you go to them, oh, and my fuel is finished, please, I want to refuel. And they say, no, you will not give you the product. You are finished. You collapse your business. Because here you are making promises to entrance into your fuel station that, oh, you have fuel. But you cannot give them the fuel because some suppliers have agreed that you are not worth the giving of the fuel. You are finished. So suppliers are also close and directly interactive, and also competitors. Obviously, they are in your space. You are all competing for customers. You are competing for technology, for products, for services, for processes. They are doing what you are also doing. So you need to compete ad infinitum. You need to compete forever. So in competing, you are competing for the same customers. So those ones also must be monitored because they exist in your external environment, but they are directly interactive. Any small thing you do, they come crashing you are done. Think of MTN, think of Tigo, think of Airtel. Any small mistake you do, you are done and you are out of the market. And also employees and their unions, very close. Very close. Employee unions especially are so close to the organization. That's why in the public space, they can say, we won't go to work. They say all nurses and midwives won't go to work. And you see a nurse and a midwife, no matter how much you love children, you don't have to go. No matter how you love the sick, you still need to stay home because your unions are saying we are calling for salaries and you cannot go and work. So these are directly interactive in the space of the external environment that you need to cater for. Any questions on the ones that are directly interactive? Okay. In the absence of that, I'm minded to proceed to still in the external environment, those that are far off. You may call them fair weather friends. You know them by their faces and maybe their names, but they are not closer to you. But when we go there, you realize that some of these things are closer than you ever think, but they have been categorized under indirectly interactive because they look afar off from the business, but they are also directly, and I should say indirectly, affecting the business. First is the social cultural part. So indirectly interactive social cultural part. Look, when you go to Rome, you do what Romans do. Society has its culture and its lineage. You don't come as a business and say you disobey society's concepts. In Cape Coast, When it's Tuesday, you don't go to the seaside. On Tuesdays, you don't go. You don't go. There some ladies went the last time, they died. They had to perform some ritual for them to come back, and they came back dead. So look, last time, I like going to the beach because when it is dark and you are at the beach and you want to do some other things, you can do it there. And so I like going to the beach. One day I got the lady lured me to, I don't know whether she's mommy water or she lured me, come and see me at the beach, It was Tuesday. So I went there and she was beckoning me, come, come. The lady saying, come, come. She was closer to the sea. She said she's my student. She was beckoning me, come, me too. When ladies call you like this, and I was also moving to the sea. And one fisherman said, hey, Bema, it's Tuesday. Who told you that the person calling you is a human being? Hey, Jesus. Quickly, I had to run away. Otherwise, by now, I would have been rest in peace. You may not have met me because that was a long time ago. So you see, but some of us, we have done some things on this side. So if the fisherman did not help me, so I had to give him something small. If the fisherman did not help me, I would now be part of the river bodies. Okay, so clearly you will see that society has its customs and its pilgrimage. We say in Ghana, in all chieftaincy balances, that you can't go to a chief's palace with empty hands. So it's not called bribe, it is custom. So if you're a business and you're operating and the chief calls you, you have to go with something. It's not called bribe. Those are socio-cultural factors that we live by. And when you don't live by them, you become a persona non grata. They do not like you in the community. Secondly, the ones that are indirectly interactive are political and legal. This is where I fall. I'm a lawyer and a politician. And so this is my area. Look, politics controls everything in Ghana. So sometimes when I hear people say, oh, I don't like politics. You don't like, what do you want to do in Ghana if you don't want to be a politician? Hey, if you want to earn some salaries in Ghana, you can only be a politician. Oh. Last time I saw a politician's paycheck, hey, one person. But for us as teachers, even Christmas, we are teaching. Where do we fall? So politics affects the business, and you see that there are even opportunities for businessmen to go and see politicians so that they don't pass some laws against them. I don't know if you were alive and reasonable at the time when we had an MP come out to say that a businessman came into parliament to give them money so that they don't remove Kenoforiata. I don't know if you were reasonable at the time, if you followed the story. But that is the political legal environment. It's very strong. But why? Were we not in Ghana some years ago when a certain regime came to office and closed down some banks? Which of the banks you know that were closed? Which of the banks?
UT.
Which of the banks?
Unibank.
GN Bank.
Are they politicians behind them?
GN Bank.
Banks. Are politicians behind them? The
No.
owners, are they politicians?
Apart from GN Bank.
Oh. Hey,
Yes,
all of them.
All of them.
All of them. Some are not frontline, but they are financiers.
Okay.
Sure, all of them. You go and look at the statistics and you know what we are saying. They close down all of them to reduce the power of the NDC. I hope you know where I stand. I'm an aware from Volta region. So which one is my party? Hey, don't engage in stereotypes. Okay.
NDC.
Which one is my party?
NDC.
Oh no. Then you don't know my party. You don't know my party. You don't know.
NDC.
Oh, you don't know my party. Okay. Again, in the external environment, beyond politics, is the technological environment. Things are fast-paced and changing. And so the kind of technology that you would use It's relevant. I think someone is okay. Stephen, you are unmuted, so kindly mute it. Okay, I've muted you, so that's fine. Now, technology is also a crucial part. Today we are in the realms of AI, but the AI can tell lies, Papa. Hey, but what can you do? It is still part of the technology we have come to agree on. So while there are technological changes, it affects the way and manner in which you do things. Look, when you go to the US, there are some banks, you don't see anybody in the bank, no teller, no security man, no one. What you do is that you take your money, you enter. It is how do you call that door? And the door opens on its own, automatic door. You stand at the entrance, automatic door opens. You take out your money, place it in the counter, it swallows it, counts it for you, and in less than a second, your account is credited. You've not seen anybody. Ghana. Ghana, if that machine is in Ghana. Oh Jesus. You've not seen anybody. I should go and put my money in a bank where no one is there. How about if it counts the money and it doesn't count it well? And instead of 5,000, it says you've been credited 500 CDs. Who will I complain to? So you see, those kind of technologies, though it may exist elsewhere, cannot come to Ghana because of our mentality. All right, but technology is in the space. And as a company, you should know that it is indirectly interacting with the organization. And also, my good senior says if the economy is weak, or how did he say it? If something is weak, the exchange rate will expose you. He says,
If the fundamentals are weak,
Rita, then I know where you stand. You are with us. So he says that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. So the economy too is part. When you have a business and you have 17 CDs, 18 CDs, being $1, 18 CDs. So when you sell and at the end of the day get 18,000 Ghana cedis, you've gotten $1,000. Hey, which economy is this? And in Ghana, we had that sometime under one of the most profound economies we can have in the world. But I will leave that conversation. So economic variables are relevant and affect the business. There are businesses that had to shut down because of the cruel currency depreciation. But thank God we have a savior. So now the fifth point is also the aspect of global influences. COVID-19, and you hear the MPP, our people say, Russian-Ukraine war. It's true. Russia and Ukraine are just fighting war, and a business in Ghana is collapsing. It is real. Because if that business is dealing with the production of wheat, they are finished because that is the primary source of wheat harvesting. Ukraine. So our flour became short of what we needed in the world space, oil and gas. When the Afghanistan war started, Israel and Palestinian war, oil and gas prices started shooting up. Those are global influences. And can you imagine what kind of disrespect Donald Trump has caused Africans? How can he sit in America and shoot into Nigeria? Oh, it means we are finished though. A sovereign state, someone in US can sit down and order an airstrike to Nigeria. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but it is disrespect to the sovereignty of a nation. It means that one day you'll be in your bathhouse, you'll be having your bath, and there's a bomb coming from US. What is that how we want to run the nation? The world. Can you imagine that one country is now powerful than all other countries? It can shoot as far as Nigeria. Well, but those are global influences. And those things also cause in the external environment. So, colleagues, these are The ones that are directly interactive, they are owners, customers, suppliers, competitors, employee unions. And those that are indirectly interactive, social, cultural, political, technological, economic, and global influences, but all joined together are in the external environment. Now let's ask ourselves, having dealt with the external environment, remember that by definition, we said the environment contains internal and external forces, forces within and outside. We've dealt with forces outside. What are the forces within the organization that can also affect or disaffect the business? The mission statements are the forces internal to it. The mission statements. Your mission tells us why you exist. What do you stand for? That's in your environment. When you don't properly craft your mission, you are finished. And in another class, I'm sure if I should take you through strategic management, I think I'll take you through next year, if God wills. And if the Mami Water does not call me and I go, I'll take you through how to craft the mission statement. But what you should note is that the mission statement explains why the company exists. And that is crucial in understanding what is in the internal environment, because every person is guided by the mission. The reason why you are here this morning instead of playing football or taking care of your children is because you have a mission to reach, and hopefully you will reach there. Beyond the mission is the company policies, the guidelines that we all need to undertake, to be bound by. And I don't know if you recall that in KNUST Senior High School, there was some assistant headmaster that had some keys on his forehead. By some young girl.
Yes.
You see, he's enjoying. So that time in Kumasi, I've asked them for direction so that I go for mine. But you see that the GES policy frowns on that. The GES policy frowns on such things. So as a company, you need to form clear guidelines, and those things are in your internal environment. Because at the end of the day, these are things that represent you. Your formal structures, and we learned under Henry Fayol, unity of command, unity of purpose, unity of interest, scalar chain. We need to know the formal structures in your organization. That's what represents you. So when you go to the army, they are very structured. I recall when some years back, I thought because I had some energy, I used to go to the gym. I said I want to go to the military. So we all gathered at Elwak, and recently something bad happened, but we'll leave that. We all gathered at Elwak. Hey, just to present the admission thing. They've not even taken us, so just to present the forms. A soldier came. Hey, one line. You people jog to. I said me. I left and I came home. Jog to where? With this my big stomach, where I'm going to jog to where? Take me first, and then when you tell me I've gotten the job, then I conscientize myself. I'm just coming to present an admission. I should jog to where? Who told you the admission is mine? Maybe I'm holding it for someone. So I left. So there are formal strictures and structures in which we do things. And once you are in the organization, it is binding on you. Those are in the internal environment, the workspace, how people are happy, the climate in the workspace, the culture, the way they dress. All these things are in the workspace. We call them the organizational climate. What the management stands for, what's their philosophy, what do they value? You see, so you realize that in the internal environment, there are a lot of intangibles. You cannot just get hold of them. We are talking of things that are highly intangible. We are looking at their formal structures and strictures, mission, their vision, their policies, their philosophies, personal beliefs about life. Some are loyalty, integrity, perseverance. All those things are in the internal environment. Your leadership style, and we'll look at leadership if we are able to reach there. We'll look at leadership and how that influences decision making in the organization. But they are all in the organization. And also resources. And resources, we have both human resources and material resources. They are all in the organization. You can only compete with the resources you have at your disposal or the resources you control. These are all in the environment. The day your resources fail you, you are finished. Resources like machines. I had this car, very small car. I still have a small car, by the way. And this car I had first, when it sees ladies, it will let me have a conversation with the ladies. Then when I say bye-bye, then the engine will go off. What kind of embarrassment is this? I'll talk to the lady and everything. The car will be moving on. Immediately I say, oh, bye-bye, see you later. When I take the number, then the engine will go off. It will not start again. I've taken number. Now I have to come out. And there's a place you have to touch under the car to bring it back to life. And the ladies will be there. Say, can we help you now? Those relationships, you know it won't work. All this disgrace. So if you are dealing with resources, they are your internal environment. They can fail you. And so you have to constantly monitor it to ensure that it works up to scratch. And I mentioned the culture of the organization already, how we live, what we wear, what we eat, our values and beliefs encompasses that. So, colleagues, the point is that in all this discussion, ours is when you know what is in your external environment and also what is in your internal environment. Yeah, and you know in the external environment, some are directly interactive, some are indirectly interactive. But nonetheless, you need to monitor all of them to be able to adapt to the environment. Because a good business, a successful business, is the one that can monitor the environment well and adapt to changes in both the internal and external environment. So I thank you. This is the second part. We looked at the business and its environment, and we discussed the fact that the business environment are forces that are either within or outside the organization that have the potential of influencing the organization and is influenced by the organization. It can be external and internal. When it's external, they are of two manifestations. It could be directly interactive, owners, customers, suppliers, amongst others. Or it could be indirectly interactive, the political legal system, the social cultural aspect globally and all. Or it could be the internal environment. And in the internal environment, you are looking at things like your vision, your mission, your core values, your guidelines, your policies, your resources, your managerial philosophies, amongst others. On this note, I say thank you for the second part. Are there any questions, comments, or contributions for the second part? All right. In the absence of that, we'll take another 10 minutes break and we do our third discussion. So if there is none, it's 9-7. Okay, it's now 9-8 by my watch. I'll come back at 9:18. 9:18 to discuss the third part, which is the final part of our class. Thank you very much. All right. Would engage again to look at social responsibility and ethics. As part of the management function. I hope I can be heard.
Yes, please.
Very well. So thank you very much, Rita. Now, this will signify our final part for today. Now, as I welcome you all in here present, you have to remember that we are looking at management. The fact that management is done in a way as to have the optimal use of scarce resources. And that as part of the roles of management, the manager will be playing some interpersonal roles, informational roles, and decisional roles. Then, in the midst of that, the manager must also exhibit technical, conceptual, and human skills in pursuit of the management function. We also looked at the fact that whereas management is an art, it is also an inexact science, which means it follows some laid down procedures, which procedures have been stated in various means by Henry Fayol and other writers as planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. In fact, we also looked at how this whole management thought evolved, and that it is not a today's concept. That time was when we had the management function defined in a certain way, and that the contributors to this management thought as it exists now and also as it exists then were the early classicals approach, and they thought that the management function is production oriented, and to them foremost writers like F.W. Taylor, Henry Fayol, and Max Weber, theirs is productivity oriented. They may differ in terms of how they want to approach it, but theirs was productivity oriented. Then we had those on the left wing, especially when you have persons like the Professor Elton Mayo and Abraham Maslow say that look, the human being is an embodiment of a relational and behavioral setting. So such a persona, when it's in the workspace, you need to build a system that will make that employee happy to bring out their potential and not just anything at all as treating them as two. So to the very far left, theirs was let us think of employees and how would ensure that they engage well in the workplace, and also manage their behaviors. So they were employee oriented. But for the third school, which is the modern approach, yes, is let's use data to predict. Let's be data driven. The system approach is let's merge the three worlds, the classical behavioralists and the data driven guys, and come out with cogent decisions. Let's integrate. But as for the contingencies, they are of the view that look, choose as and when changes come. Then you choose another method as you go along. There's no one size fits all for every situation. So you just be changing the efforts as and when you move along, because your business may require the neoclassical issue, whereas another business will require the early classical thoughts. They are all still developments to management that are crucial. So we left there, having agreed on these three approaches. And we came to the fact that as for a manager, to be very competent at what you do, you have to monitor your environment, and that your environment is just a description of the forces that will exist, whether they are within or outside the organization. But what is relevant is that your works as an organization affects them, and they also in turn affect the organization. So now those that exist within the organization are the ones we term as the internal environment, which includes the managerial philosophy, the mission of the organization, policies, guidelines, their culture, the organizational climate, amongst others. Those ones are internal, including the resources of the organization. They are internal. But the ones that are external are also the ones that are dealing with things like, and of course, the external ones are of two respects. They are either indirectly interactive or directly interactive. And we say and have agreed that the directly interactive ones are the owners, customers, suppliers, and all. They are closer like a brother. But that's for the ones that are indirectly interactive, social, cultural, political, legal, and global influences. Those ones are indirectly interactive. But both of them, whether they are directly interactive or indirectly interactive, they are all embedded in the external environment. Now, beyond that is the conversation around the society that the business operates in. There's always a responsibility that a company would have towards the society and its members. What is that responsibility? We have mapped out that view, and as managerial experts, if you want, they have come out, including the leader of this called the learned Professor Anson. They are of the view that look, once a company is in operation, or any business for that matter, it must be concerned about the community. And that whatever the company does, the community must be the first and foremost beneficiary. That concept is what we call social responsibility. We'll look at that in the first part. Then we'll look at ethics. And then we'll look at values. So in proper sense, we'll look at social responsibility, we'll look at values, and then we'll look at ethics as it relates to the business. So let's start. CSR. And please, those who did general arts, they normally say CRS. Don't say CRS, CSR. CRS is Christian Religious Studies. Here is Corporate Social Responsibility. So CSR. What is it about? In fact, you know that in every space where a company operates, especially come to Obuasi, you have huge mining companies there. Huge mining companies. But go to Obuasi and check if it's a developed community. It's so bad. You have places in Ghana where gold is mined, oil is mined, but their livelihood is in tatters. And I speak of the livelihood of the community. So researchers started writing, look, if you want to operate in our space, in the space of a community, help the community. Help. So that's the whole idea of corporate social responsibility. Help, do well to help. So it started off as, okay, we will help the community. So when researchers started talking about companies helping the communities, they accepted that, okay, we will help the community. We will definitely help the community. But you see, what they started doing was, okay, if, for example, as a company, we make 1,000 cedis profit, then we'll look around and say, okay, let's use 200 cedis to support the football upon Chicap. So that's what they were doing, and they were calling it corporate social responsibility upon Chicap. So after they make their profits, then one Sunday they will support upon Chicap 200 cedis. They'll buy the goat for the football, and that's all. So it was a voluntary thing they would do, and it didn't matter what the substance of what they are doing was. Then researchers started writing, say, no. That's not what we are expecting. When we say help the community, it is not out of your own volition. There are benchmarks that you ought to meet. And that somehow, don't just engage in giving out money. Yeah, that is fine. You can buy your Aponchi cap, or you can buy the goat for the Aponchi cap. But we want you to have real measures in place to help the community. So researchers started expanding the conversation of CSR. So now CSR is not just a voluntary thing. It is a deliberate socially responsible behavior. A deliberate. It is no more at the beck and call of the business. It is something they must be doing. Not just a punchy cap, but something that is deliberate, not out of volition. Not that if they want to do it, if they don't want to, they'll do it this year, next year, don't do it. No. We want it now to be a deliberate, socially responsible behavior. But colleagues, this is where I would admonish you to pay a little more attention. So if you are bathing for your children, you hold on. Let your child hold a sponge. And let me say this point. Then after I can continue bathing for your child. Look, the researchers have come out with some key concepts when it comes to CSR. Remember that the argument was give to society. And they say, okay, we'll give you a punchy for a punchy cap. It's all right. No, that's not what we meant. Though it is part, we didn't mean that. But this is what we mean, and it has been projected. The point is that when you want to be a company that engages in CSR, corporate social responsibility, make sure that first, your operations does not destroy our environment. So environmental integrity and quality also meant an organization is engaging in CSR. Please listen, pay attention, so that if they call you they call you, journalists call you, that this company is not doing CSR. You don't just say yes, they are not, because CSR is not just philanthropy. If a company is operating and is not destroying the environment, the company has engaged in CSR. Again, consumerism. If a company is producing that their products does not injure consumers, we say that that company is engaging in CSR. I went to buy some soap the last time, soap. I don't know if it is a photocopy of Geisha. Geisha. I don't know if it's a carbon copy of Geisha. They wrote Gershon. So I went to buy it, and the price was less. And I was doing economics. So I went to buy Gershon. But it was the same package. After taking my bath, my whole body was hot. Even when you rinse yourself, the heat. Hey, Gershon will kill me. So something like this, once you have a product like Gershon, and I take my bath and I'm still hot, it means that I'm not satisfied. You have not engaged in CSR. That is the understanding of the whole aspect of CSR that meets the consumer needs. We're in Ghana. When, allow me to say, because this was of public knowledge, Mawako restaurant, the Mawako restaurant they produce food. Mawako restaurant is a restaurant that produces food. I think it's Lebanese or also as employers, but they produce food. Wache, they produce some wache sometime, and all those who ate the wache had running stomach. They sued them. and they paid huge sums of money for that. So if you even buy wache from your roadside and you are satisfied, you are licking the rubber. You know wache, we don't eat it in papaya box. We eat it in the rubber. So once you are licking the rubber and you are satisfied, that person, that woman, has engaged in CSR because she has given you a product that will not harm you. Again, community needs. Now, this is a bit tricky, and I'll explain community needs and philanthropy so that you see what these two means. Community needs is when the community members require a school. They want a school. They want a school. You've done a lot of consultation as a business. You've gone to the community, the chiefs, opinion leaders. What do you need? They say we need a school. When the company provides that school, it is meeting the community needs. So that one is from outside in. Remember, outside in. The business went ahead to do consultation and provided what the community needed. But as for philanthropy, it is inside out. You determine what you do and you do so. So that, for example, if a company is in need of a school, sorry, not the company, the community is in need of a school, and the company says, I'll build pipe-borne water. That is philanthropy. It is not meeting the community's needs, though it may be relevant to the community, but that is not their need at the time. It may be a want. So philanthropy is from inside out. There you don't do a lot of consultation. But for community needs, you go to the community and they tell you what we need, and then you are able to help the community very well. So these two are also parts of corporate social responsibility. And I've said that if the organization engages in meeting the community needs, it's CSR. If they also do philanthropy, it is CSR. A company also that employs women, children, well, children above the contracting age, I should say 18 years, and persons who are especially abled. That company that embraces diversity are also engaging in CSR. Companies that also obey the laws, have good governmental relations. And you know, recently, is it TV or what that was arguing with Sam George? Sam George says reduce the price. Is it DSTV?
Yes,
Multi-channel.
yes.
Uh-huh. Bad government relations. When the minister comes to speak, that okay, we have reduced the price, and they'll come out with a communique that we have not. Those things, you are not engaging in CSR. You are acting to disrespect our leaders. So if you have good governmental relations alone, you've also engaged in CSR. If you satisfy your shareholders, you've engaged in CSR. Those who contributed money for the organization. If you make profit for them, you have engaged in CSR. And also, if you treat your work men and women well, you have engaged in corporate social responsibility. So this is what I want you to pay attention to. All these indicators, if a company does it, they have engaged in CSR. So now I'm asking you a question. Answer whether the company has engaged in CSR or not. And this is the question. A company has built a school, but however pollutes the water body in which the organization is situated. The organization has built a school for the community, but it's also polluting the water where it is located. Has a company engaged in CSR? The floor is open. Let's do that quickly. The company or the organization has built a school for the community, but however, it is polluting their water bodies. Has that organization engaged in CSR? Proceed.
I would say no.
Why not?
It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul's tuition.
So they have robbed Peter to pay Paul. So it's not CSR. Right? Okay, good. That's a million point. Yes, Rita.
It's not CSR because you are destroying the environment.
Okay. Thank you, Rita. Who is coming? Yes, Prince.
Okay. I will also say that building the school for the community, either a philanthropy or a community need, and then destroying the environment, that falls under the ecology and the environmental quality. They are destroying the environment. So in some way, we can say that they are performing their CSR all right, and at the same time too, they are destroying the environment. So I can say that performing their CSR. I can also not say that they are doing the two together.
Yes, yes. I think I like the last view and how perhaps Amelia said it. If Samelia says that they are robbing Peter to pay Paul, it means it's an admission that they engage in CSR. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
They engage in CSR, except that on one bread they engage, in another bread they don't engage. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yes.
Ah, yes. So that's what I want you to note. So, yes, the gentleman who spoke. Great, Prince, I should say. Good. So, the next question. The company pays taxes but does not help anyone in the community. He pays taxes but does not help anyone in the community. Have they engaged in CSR? The floor is open. Yes.
And who are they paying the tax to? Are they paying the tax to the government or they are paying the tax to the community? So if they are paying the tax
The government.
to the government, then it's their responsibility to pay a tax for the government. But if they are not doing anything for the community, meaning they are not doing their responsibility, so it's not a CSR.
Okay, thank you, Abukari. Who is coming? Who thinks they've engaged in CSR? Or who thinks not? Let me hear your opinion. Yes, who is coming? Yes, proceed. Prince.
Paying taxes is CSR. Because the money you are paying to either the government or the community, they are going to use for providing the needs of the community. So therefore, it's the CSR.
All right, you see, I like Prince's approach. And looks like Prince is getting the whole point. So the point is that anything you do which is good is CSR, except that in some other respects you may have faulted. So in other words, some organizations may be highly ecological, don't destroy your environment, but they will not also build roads for you. They are also engaging in CSR, except not the one you want. There are persons who also are making profit for their shareholders, but they may be mistreating their employees. They are also engaging in CSR, but in part, there are others who also pay their taxes, but don't care about the community needs. They are also engaging in CSR in part. I hope you understand that, because people think that CSR is about philanthropy. And we have had this discussion to demonstrate to you that it is not just philanthropy. There are some people in the like some men. There are some men in the area. They will not have any relationship with your children. They are very strict. They will not give your children money in the community. They will not also touch the ladies in your area. That person has engaged in CSR. On the other breath, there are some men also in the area. They would want to have a moral relationship with all the ladies in the community, all your children, but they also give money. Any project they support, anything else they support. And they are also bad people in the community. So that man who is having a moral relationship with all the ladies in the community, but also contributing to the community, has done his CSR, except in part. That other man who does not have that moral relationship, but does not also contribute to anything, he has also done his CSR. I hope that part of the conversation is clear. So if you have a company that only ensures the environment is clean and clear, he has done CSR. If you have an organization that is giving the consumers good products and services, they have done their CSR. If you have the ones that are meeting the community needs, they have also done CSR. So the point we are making is that CSR has a lot of legs. But to say finally that you have engaged in overall CSR is to do all of it, not to pick one and not do the other. Yours is not to pick and choose. Yours is to do all totally to become a company that is socially responsible. Any questions on this? Any questions on this in terms of CSR? Then we move to values. Any questions on this? Okay, let's proceed to values. So before I even go to values, may I ask, so corporate social responsibility is not limited to philanthropy, true or false?
True.
Good. 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 A company that sells good food for its customers but does not help the community has engaged in CSR, true or false?
True.
Uh-huh. Yes, you are becoming experts. Good. Good. Now let's proceed. Let's proceed now to the next values. Values. We've done corporate social responsibility. Let's now turn our attention to values. Values are principles that you define for yourself as personal standards. And also, like the business, they also have values. Integrity, loyalty, and all those things. They are all personal standards. That's why sometimes when you are not around, you say, oh, if Danny was around, he would have said this. If Eche was around, he would have done this. If Samelia was around, she would have done this. So values are core principles that define for individuals what their personal ideals are. And all of us have some values. All right. But values are categorized in some form. And pay attention to the slide as projected, because I explain the first and the second together and the third and the fourth together. I'll start with the third and the fourth before I go to the first and second. I hope you can see the projections. The types of values. Yes, good. I explained the third and the fourth together and the first and the second together. Now the third and the fourth, espouse values and enacted values. Look, when it comes to espouse values, and I mentioned the third, espouse values. Oh, as for me, I have integrity. As for me, I don't tell lies. Those are the ones you say. Espouse are the ones you say. You want people to believe, you hold it. And there's some young man who is a lay preacher in my church. Lay preacher, it means he has not gone through the Bible school yet. A lay preacher. Last time he opened his mouth, he says, as for me, what I'm good at. He says what his pastor trusts him for. his head pastor, what they charge him for is that even if they leave him with people's daughters, he doesn't do anything. I said, look at you, you, they leave you with people's daughters, you don't do anything. They are espoused values. There are things that you can say. There are people who say a lot of things. That me, I'm a man of integrity. Me, I am a man who lies truth. But when it comes to the enacted values, they are the ones that we see you do. The value in use. They are the ones we see you do. And normally, the espoused values are really different from the enacted values. So what you say normally differs from what you do. But nonetheless, they are your values. So values that you make people believe you hold are the espoused values. But enacted values are the ones you actually use. As for me, I can say a lot of things as my values. But when the time comes, what I enact may be different. Even you know the profession I'm in. In our profession, someone can come to you and say, oh, I beat my wife, oh, but you help me. When you go to court, don't say I beat my wife. We go and we don't say it. That is what we call integrity. The public may think that we are liars. That's why they say lawyers are liars. We don't lie. We uphold confidentiality, and we give integrity to our clients. Eh? There's this woman who called me. She poured hot water on the body of of her husband. Hot water. The husband was asleep, and she boiled hot water and poured it on him because he had been chasing the girls in the area. So she called me that, oh, lawyer, I've done it this. So I said, don't worry. Are you sure you did it? She said, yes, I did. I said, why? He said, oh, he liked girls too much. I said, okay. When we went to court, he said, my lady, when they read the charge out to her, pouring hot water on your man. I said, my lady, we are not guilty. Have I lied? I've not lied. At the end of the day, it's integrity. It is confidentiality. So your espoused values are those that you speak for people to believe that you have. But what you enact are the real ones that we see. And there may be a stark contrast most of the time. So that's the third and fourth. So kindly note espoused values and enacted values. Espoused values is what you make people believe you hold. And enacted are the ones you actually do. Then the first and the second. I'll start with the second. Instrumental values. You know, when you are trying to be successful in life, there are a lot of principles you hold dear to your heart. Hard work, don't be relaxed. Wake up at 4 a.m. You know, when you want to succeed. Those are instrumental values. Values that drive you to a desirable end. But when you get to your end, when you reach where you want to be, when you are now successful in life, those values change. Those values change. You think that despite wakes up at 4 a.m. Who told you that? Who told you that when they reach the top, they wake up early? They sleep early and they wake up late. But before they got there, they were waking up early. So instrumental values are the values you need to put you on a high pedestal, to drive you to a certain end. When you get there, now you are there already. You need to change your values. You need to change your values. I recall when I was young, if they ask me how many wives does a man need, I say one. Oh, you have to be faithful and loyal to one wife, because as a man, you can only have one woman who you love for life. Instrumental values. But having gotten to where I am and having known the sphere of the earth, I now agree with Solomon that look, you need more than one. So those are my terms now. Where I am now, I'm not going to come, because the one that I have always troubling me. So I have added some other ones at the top. So you see, the instrumental values, one wife. If you go against this is me now, I'm a man of many wives. So you see, your instrumental values are the one that will drive you to the end. When you get to the end, the values will change. Not because you are a hypocrite, but because when you arrive, you see things differently. You see things differently. That is why normally in politics, they tell you, oh, didn't we hear someone say 3 shifts? 3 shifts, one job. Did you not hear it? Someone will go in the morning, someone will go in the afternoon, and someone will go in the, oh, you were not in Ghana. Did you hear it? Now that they have, now that they have,
Yes.
now that they have one power, who is going to the work in the afternoon? You let me finish teaching and let someone come that come to teach you again. And the same principles of my dad, the person says I'm from John Mohammed's government. It's 3 shifts. No one will mind him. That thing is not operational. All right. So instrumental values are what politicians do. Once they get to the terminal value, they change. There's this lecturer who has been appointed, and I'll mention his name in a state-owned enterprise. My colleague, my colleague, the two of us, we went into the bush to campaign. He's been nominated. He was part of the first nominees. Now, when I text him, I say, oh, hey, hi, bro. It takes 2 weeks for him to respond to me. So last time I got annoyed, I told you, I will show you. So let's wait when our government also comes to power, and we'll see what to do. So you see, at the end of the day, your instrumental values are the ones that will propel you there. When you get to the top, the values change for good reason. For good reason. So remember that values are principles you hold dear, the basis for which you take decisions. But however, these values can be enacted or espoused. Espoused means the one you want people to believe. Enacted are the ones you act out. Instrumental are the ones that lead you on to a certain desirable state. So on your journey, you need some values and virtues. But when you get to the top, the terminal state, the values also change. Having said that, we'll come to ethics. Any questions on values? Any questions on values? Okay, now come to ethics. Remember that corporate social responsibility is a desirable state. It is something that must be deliberately done. And it is not only philanthropy, but includes philanthropy and also community needs, environmental protection, paying your taxes, ensuring your shareholders are okay, amongst others. All those things are CSR. And when we speak of values, there are principles you hold dear to your heart that guides in your measurement of decision making. And we say that they can be espoused, the ones you speak for people to believe you hold, or enacted, the ones you actually do, in fact, which normally there is a deviation. And also instrumental value, the values you need that propels you to a desirable state. However, when you get to the desirable state, then you espouse your terminal values. And those values are the ones that normally keep you at the top, and they may differ from your instrumental values. Now, the final discussion is on ethics. Ethics. Determining what is good or bad. The determination of what is good or bad. Colleagues, ethics is just about knowing what is good and doing what is good and knowing what is bad and not doing what is bad. I repeat, ethics is about knowing what is good and doing what is good and knowing what is bad and not doing what is bad. But you see, colleagues, knowing what is good and bad is a difficult thing. Oh, there is nothing good generally, and there is nothing bad. Oh, that one let me put on record. There's nothing that is all good, and there's nothing that is all bad. Everything has justifications. That's why most people don't like lawyers. But what can we do? Everything has justification. What is good is based on argument, and what is bad is based on argument. So let me ask you a question. If an old woman is very, very sick and has no money on her, enters into someone's farm and takes just one finger of plantain. She's very sick, very frail. She has gone around the community to ask for alms. No one is giving her anything. She's frail and sick. So she enters into someone's farm and takes one finger of plantain. Must she be punished by the law for stealing? Let me hear you. Must she be punished for stealing? Yes, anyone. Must she be punished for stealing? Yes.
It's stealing because she took the plantain without the consent of the owner. But they should look at the intention behind the stealing. He didn't steal to sell, to eat, so she shouldn't be punished.
So if you steal to sell, you should be punished. But if you steal to eat, you
Yes,
should not.
for that one,
Eh,
you should have been punished.
So if I come and take your money and then I spend it on food, I shouldn't be punished, right?
For able man like you have to be punished. But
Hey,
we
who
feel
told you
that
I'm able? Have you seen me before? Did I tell you I'm able? I'm not able, please.
able because you have work, you are working
Who
the
told you I'm
whole
working?
life.
Who told you? I'm not able. Okay, so thank you.
But the
Thank you.
Doc,
old lady,
Doc, you are able to you will not be changing women. You have only one.
But I didn't hear you. Say it again.
I said once you are able to put up about 2 or more women, that means that you are able.
Oh, it's not true. It may not be so. It may not be so. Okay. So well, let me hear Juliana. Mm-hmm.
So I also think that every
Yes.
stealing is stealing. No, so far as she didn't use the right direction to ask for the thing, is stealing. So when it goes to the court of law, she has to be persecuted or something like that. So and then yes, and then I think that whatever her intention was, and looking at, because you said an old woman, so they will be looking at that aspect and then the thing that she took, so that they will be able to draw the conclusion from it. So I think that it's still stealing so far as he didn't ask, and we are not doing butter trading too. Yeah, thank you.
Juliana, okay, thank you. It means that you send her to jail. Okay. But as for me, I believe she has not done anything wrong. She should be left off the hook. She has been asking you for money, you don't give her money. Plantain, I would have guided her to take more of the plantains every day. But you see, the whole point is that it depends on where you stand, though. And like Juliana rightly said, so now you have to go into the intent and look at it. And I am sure, is it one of our colleagues, is it better, or perhaps says, if you are able-bodied, then it means that. So it means that what you are all admitting is there are some circumstances that will justify a wrong conduct. So you admit that no, there are some times when there are things that are generally good. There are times where you can say this is good because of arguments based on the circumstances. And there are sometimes you think it's wrong because of some arguments that we make. All right. So often I make the example that if a pastor is in the room with your daughter and you hear Ajay, you say they are doing what?
they are praying.
That is it, deliverance.
They are praying.
Deliverance. But if you see Ajay in the room with your daughter and we are saying Ajay, what do you say? Be careful. Be careful. So you see, so at the end of the day, the same scenario is giving different conclusions as to what is good and what is bad because of the actors involved. All right.
Yes.
So you ought to realize that ethics is about that interrogation. And given what I have said, it therefore means that ethics itself has developed some guiding principles to determine what is good from what is bad. Because ethics is saying that let's know what is good and let's do what is good. Let's know what is bad. However, let us refrain from doing what is bad. So it has given some guidelines because it knows that goodness and badness is very subjective. And the guidelines also makes the point for us. So to determine what is good ethically, you must tell us the guideline on which you rest your argument. So I'll take you through a few. Now, when you're an egalitarian, the egalitarian belief is equality. Egalitarians believe in equality. So whatever is equal is good. So for egalitarians, we are all supposed to have, say, 1 CD. Give us all 1 CD, and it is fair. It is good. Egalitarians are thinking of equality. So if there's an old man, there's a young boy, and you are sharing apples, if you give the young boy 2 because he needs more to grow, and you give the old man 1, egalitarian will say you are bad. I hope you follow their conversation because they believe in equality. But if you give the young boy 1 and you give the old man 1 apple, they say you are good because they believe in equality. Utilitarian, they are also of the view that an action is good when it benefits the masses. When it benefits majority of the people, then an action is good. But when the action disaffects majority of the people, then the action is bad. So theirs is 50+1 or majority. So for example, for utilitarian, if you tell them, we are 30 million Ghanaians and COVID-19 has come, we need to kill, say, 10,000 Ghanaians to get the cure for COVID-19. Utilitarian will say, kill them. We got 30 million and you kill only 10,000. Kill them. That's utilitarian. They'll find it good. So if a utilitarian is on the road, and by all means he must get an accident, the car has lost its steering and the brake is not working, a utilitarian will be looking on the road, and if he sees 2 old women on the side and 3 children on the right, 2 old women on the left, 3 children on the right, a utilitarian will be gauging the old woman and turn the car to when hit the old woman because he's thinking majority. But you know the limitation here. The limitation the utilitarian is that there's one person that is bigger and better than all of us. We're in Ghana. There's one person that is majority than all of us in Ghana. Who is that person? Who is that person?
President.
The
Is it not the
president.
president?
Is it not the president? You're asking me a question.
The president.
The
It is the
president.
Okay, it is the president. It is the president. And so it is the president. Now you recognize that. So when the car is moving, it has lost its brake. There are 10,000 Ghanaians on the right, and the president is on the left. Where will you drive your car to? To be a utilitarian, which one will he hit?
10,000.
10,000. Because 10,000 is less than the 1.
The president.
That is so. So utilitarianism is about majority. We'll take these conversations later when we do ethics. I'm sure I should take you through ethics and strategic management sometime in the future. All right. So utilitarians, majority. When it benefits majority, they are okay. Now, there are also those who I know my right people. For them, theirs is that what is good is something that will enhance the rights of people. So once you have an action that enhances human rights, then they are okay. So like nowadays, the children in our homes, mommy, I don't eat rice. Hey, in our time, in our time, you don't sometimes you can be smelling your love from the kitchen and by evening they give you kenke. What can you do? You can't even raise an objection. So you just eat it. But today the children can say, I'll eat rice. And you see women prepare new dishes that evening. Me, Echedobe. If you eat, you go and sleep. So you see, that's why they've separated me from all the children. So I'm here alone. Now, so individual rights, as it relates to ethics, those who believe in enhancing rights, anytime there's an attempt to enrich the rights of people, they like it. They say it's good. Anytime there's an attempt to undermine the rights of people, they say it's bad. So recall COVID-19. The president said Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi don't come out. Someone who is individually an individual rightist or a right perfectionist will say that, look, why didn't we come out? We have the freedom and the right to move. So that person will say that's a bad decision because they are thinking of how to enhance individual rights, not to undermine it. Then, when it comes to those in distributive justice, they are thinking of what is good is equity. So you can see the difference between distributive justice and egalitarianism. Egalitarianism is what? It's based on what?
Or equality.
Equality, and distributive justice is based on what? Equity. All right. So look, as for distributive justice, when an old man and a young man is standing, the same example, and you give the old man one apple and you give the young guy two apples, distributive justice will say you are good. Egalitarian will say you are bad. So you see how the principles work. Now let me take the ontology. The ontology, they believe in rules. Rules. However, the rules are, they'll believe they have to abide by the rules no matter what. So they believe that when you obey the rule, you are good. When you disobey the rule, for whatever reason, you are bad. So you know the ontologies, when they are in traffic, the ontology, even 1 a.m., when they see red, they will stop because they are obeying rules. The ontologists will stop at 1 a.m. I recall there's a boat driver I took some time. When I came to Accra to go and teach, I had to teach in the morning. I traveled from Cape Coast quite late. So I got in and I took the boat to my destination. This driver, at midnight, 1 a.m., yellow, you will now reduce the speed. Then red, you stop. I said, hey, gentlemen, my friend, cross the red light and let's go. He said, if you want the police to come and catch me, then you get down. I said, oh, senior, there is no car on the road. Just go. He says, my friend, if you won't go, then get down, because I don't want any police. I said, look, I'm a lawyer. No policeman can do anything to you. Let's be there. You think I just say I'm a lawyer and I'll believe you? Please. He stopped. Every point. I had to get down and take another vehicle. That's a deontologist. They think that obeying laws are good. And so any rule you set, whether the rule does not make sense, to obey it. Like you see, like the police, any rule they wish to obey it. And also universalism. For universalism, it is on the premise that anything that is good is what is universally acceptable. But the limitation is that the goodness differs. Goodness differs. There is no universal view of ethics. Whereas in some countries, marrying a man marrying a man is good. In other countries, it's bad. So universalism has a great limitation. And also for moral rights, they believe that anything that is morally right is good. Anything that is immoral is bad. So once in our community we have accepted that a man can only have one wife per moral, they see that to be good. When we believe that a man must have 4 wives per moral, they think that it is good. When we say a man can have as many wives as they have, if it is moral, they say it's good. On the flip side, when they say a man must marry one wife and you go against it, they say you are immoral. So it is bad. When they say a man must marry 4 and you marry 5, they say you are immoral. So those are the things. Anything that will enrich the morality of the space, they consider it good. Anything that will disaffect the morality of the space, they say it's bad. And finally, the cost-benefit approach. Anything these people do, when the benefit outweighs the cost, they say it's good. But when the cost is high and the benefit is low, they say that it is bad. So these are the analysis you'll be doing when it relates to ethics. And the point is that there's nothing that is almost always good and almost always bad. It is based on arguments, based on these principles. So I ask a question, and you use any of the principles to make a determination whether it's good or bad. So this is the question. A company in operation. A company in operation destroys the environment. A company in operation destroys the environment to gain revenue, to build a school in the community. Has it done good or bad? A company in a community destroys the environment to gain revenue, to build schools in the community for the children of the community to attend for free. Has the company done good or bad? May I hear you? Yes, good or bad? Let's take it quickly.
Please, Doc,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of utilitarianism, I think it's good.
Wow, I accept. Explain further so that I know that you are adding them.
The school will be for the general good benefit of all the society.
Excellent. So even cost benefit approach too would help you. It's also good. Utilitarianism is also good. Okay, who is coming? Who thinks it's bad with a theory or with a principle? Who is coming? Who thinks it's bad? Choosing a principle.
They're right.
They're right. Do they think it's bad?
But moral.
Yes, they will think it's bad.
Why?
In the sense that though they are providing for the society, they are also destroying the environment.
Excellent. So ecological rights are at stake. Good. Yes, who is coming? Who thinks it's bad or good with principles? Yes, Rita, may I hear you?
It's bad because idealism, those school going age may not be as small as all those in the environment. Because if you destroy the environment, so many people will be affected. But with the school, not all the people in the community attend school.
That's a beautiful point. Utilitarianism would still make it bad. So you see, on one breath, utilitarianism made it good, and now Rita still on the same point says no, it's bad. That's beautiful. These are the arguments we want. So it's relative. Any more? Any further? Will the deontology see it as bad or good? The ontology is abide by the law. Will they see it as good or bad?
They will say it's bad
Yes,
because
excellent.
they base on rules. Yeah.
Excellent, Juliana. The rule says don't pollute. So when you pollute, whatever you tell us, whether you built a school or not, it's still bad.
Bad.
Good. So those are the yes, better.
I'm also looking at it on the aspect of cost benefit approach.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad in the sense that when you end up destroying the environment, if you look at the cost that have to go into the environment again for them to maintain it, so definitely it will affect them. So in comparing the schools you have built and the distraction that has taken place, to if you want to compare the two based on the cost benefit, then you can weigh the other side It could be bad or good, depending on your analysis.
Excellent. You see, and I just like the beauty in what you have all done, because you are taking the principles one by one and trying to see whether it is good or bad. But what you rather realize is that even one principle, it can be argued as good or bad. So that brings the point home that there's nothing generally good or there's nothing generally bad. So in the exams, please, in the exams, these are the principles. When you have a case study or something, don't just say the action is good or the action is bad. Base it on principles and then conclude. So you see, you can come out and even the principles, you can come out and state the same principles and conclude differently. All we want to see is that state the reason based on principle why you say an act is wrong, all right? Because there's nothing generally wrong and there's nothing generally right. Now, as we proceed to the end, we say that because ethics, and we have demonstrated, it's a broad thing. If a company wishes for their members to abide by some ethos, then they need to put what they want in a book. I cannot be in the company thinking, is this good or bad? No. Tell me what is good and tell me what is bad. Then I'll abide by it. So when we say code of ethics, it's just a documented form of what the company has accepted. And please note that that documented form of ethics does not mean the whole of the ethics in the world. It's just the ones that the company has adopted, that this is what will guide us. That essentially is a code of ethics. So on that note, colleagues, I think that we are done. I've taken you through social responsibility, ethics, and values, or social responsibility, values, and ethics. We've looked at the fact that social responsibility is a deliberate thing, not voluntary, and it's not about philanthropy. It's about a lot of things, including philanthropy, ecology, taxes, government relations, shareholder satisfaction, consumerism, amongst others. We've also looked at the fact that a company must do all to reach the optimum CSR. But when you do some, the accounts will say, "Kitwe bien swa." When you do some, you have done CSR. All right. We've also looked at values that they may exist in an espoused state. What you say for people to believe, they could be enacted. What you actually do, and normally what you espouse and enact, they normally differ. Some are the same, but anyhow. We also look at the fact that the values you need in driving yourself to your destination, which is your instrumental values, would in some respect differ from the values you need when you reach your stage, the terminal value. So those ones are also the characteristics of values, which is the principles by which you decide or you take decisions. And finally, we looked at ethics, the concept of goodness and badness. And the rule is that know what is good and do the good. Know what is bad and refrain from doing what is bad. We, however, realize that the universalistic view of ethics may not be acceptable. However, ethics is based on arguments. What is good or bad is based on some principles, egalitarian, utilitarian, amongst others. So that is where we draw the curtains. And we also finally stated the point that, look, whatever is ethical for me as I leave from the Volta region and come to your workplace, it's not what I should be bound by. When someone is from Kumasi, from the Ashanti region, and comes to the workplace, he also has his ethos. So if you wanted to abide by a certain ethics or ethos, put it in a book. Then we know that we have come to Rome and we'll do only what Romans do. So that I'm not left in the quagmire of guessing. Here, do they greet with their left hand or their right? Here, when they serve the food to the manager, do we also eat some? No. Let it be in a book. And that is what we call the code of ethics. And that is what encompasses all what we have studied. On that note, colleagues, are there questions or are there comments or contributions? Otherwise, we are done for today. Are there comments, questions, or contributions? Okay. In the absence of that, colleagues, I wish you well. May your Merry Christmas have a lot of merry. And may your...
Wait.
Yes, better. I want to say something. I'm listening. Oh, the network is not too clear. All right.
have an information for them. The books.
Better.
Yes,
Better. Can you come again, respectfully?
the book you talked about.
Yes.
Principles of management. I got back to the TA and he's saying it's 70 cedi.
Okay. I think the network.
Yes, though.
Oh, Better. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes.
I said the management. Principle of management.
All right. So you say that the principle of management book is 70 cedis based on your inquiry. Is that correct? All right. I think, is it my network or can anyone hear me? Or am I the only person facing such a challenge?
We can hear you. I
All
think
right.
Better won't have a problem.
Okay. All right. Then,
Yes,
colleagues,
Doc, we can hear you clearly.
okay. Thank you. Let's Better know that whatever it is, liaise with the teacher assistant so that you can get the books for your pleasure of reading. On that note, make your Merry Christmas a merry one and make your Happy New Year a happy one. I wish you well. We'll meet sometime next year. Okay, have a good day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, Doc.
Bye bye. He's gone already.